So tonight we're going to continue a similar theme to Sunday. On Sunday, we looked at Martin Luther's hymn, A Mighty Fortress. We also looked at Psalm 46, on which the song is based. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. Tonight, we're going to talk about weakness. To start off, I'm going to read a quote by Jim Cymbala. I read this several years ago, and it really stuck with me. He says, I discovered an astounding truth. God is attracted to weakness. He can't resist those who humbly and honestly admit how desperately they need him. Our weakness, in fact, makes room for his power. If you go to a dictionary and look up weakness, it would say lack of physical strength, want of force or vigor, feebleness, as the weakness of a child, the weakness of an invalid, the weakness of a wall or bridge, or of thread or cordage. The second definition would be lack of steadiness. Third, infirmity, unhealthiness, as weakness of constitution. Fourth is want of judgment, feebleness of mind, foolishness. And then fifth is defect, failing, fault. I'm going to look briefly at Moses. Moses was a man who grew up in the courts of Pharaoh, but then he went off to the desert. God chose him to be a leader. And Moses said, who am I? Who am I? And then he said to God, who are you? Who will I tell them sent me? And then he said, I'm not eloquent. And then he said, send someone else. He felt so inadequate. God was angry with him. God had already chosen him, and he wasn't going to give up so easily. David was the youngest of his brothers. I'm going to read a portion of the famous chapter of David and Goliath. And Saul said to David, you are not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for you are a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant used to keep his father's sheep, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, I went out after it and struck it, and delivered the lamb from its mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught it by its beard and struck it and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living God. Moreover, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you. Then it says, so David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. David went on to become one of the strongest believers in the history of the world. He said in Psalm 18, with your help, I can advance against a troop. With my God, I can scale a wall. As for God, his way is perfect. The Lord's word is flawless. He shields all who take refuge in him. For who is God besides the Lord? And who is the rock except our God? And then when it comes to weakness, Paul was probably the most eloquent in this subject. He said, I was with you in weakness, in fear, and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching were not with persuasive words of human wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not be in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. And of course, we know about Paul's thorn in the flesh that he wanted to remove. And this is what he said about it. Concerning this thing, I pleaded with the Lord 3 times that it might depart from me. And he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, most gladly, I will rather boast in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore, I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in needs, in persecutions, in distresses, for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then I am strong. That's 2 Corinthians 12, 8-10. And this is something that I found about Hudson Taylor. Hudson Taylor, founder of China Inland Mission, knew the secret of strength through weakness. Complimented once by a friend on the impact of the mission, Hudson answered, "It seemed to me that God looked over the whole world to find a man who was weak enough to do his work. And when he at last found me, he said, 'He is weak enough. He'll do.' All God's giants have been weak men who did great things for God because they reckoned on his being with them." And this is something that Charles Spurgeon said. "Faith is weakness clinging to strength and becoming strong through so doing. Faith alone takes hold of the divine strength. God does not need your strength. He is looking to take your weakness and use it as the instrument in his mighty hand. Will you yield your weakness to him and receive his strength?" When we consider someone like Joshua in the Bible, he represents most of us. Why? Because Moses was a hard act to follow. Moses died and he was succeeded by Joshua. Compared to Moses, Joshua was a midget, but nevertheless, God chose him and worked through him. We live in 2021. We live in a day of Joshua. We were not present during the days of the early church. We did not see great works and mighty miracles, but we have their testimonies and the same Spirit. We have the Word of God that he's preserved for us, that we can read, and we can accept by faith all these things that God did through the men and women who lived before us. And we have history behind us. Many things have happened in history. Joshua had spent time with Moses and had witnessed many great wonders, but he also saw the God of Moses and saw that Moses was strong in the Lord. This is what Moses said: "Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear nor be afraid of them, for the Lord your God, he is the one who goes with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you." Then Moses called Joshua and said to him in the sight of all Israel, "Be strong and of good courage, for you must go with this people to the land which the Lord has sworn to their fathers to give them, and you shall cause them to inherit it. And the Lord, he is the one who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. Do not fear nor be dismayed." Notice he didn't say, "For the Lord, my God, he is the one who goes with you." He said, "The Lord, your God." Your God. We each need to claim our God. We can't say Moses' God or Joshua's God or somebody else's. He's our God. He's the one who gives us the strength. He is the one that we need a relationship with to rely upon. Joshua went on to lead God's people into the promised land. God used a weak man with all his faults to accomplish his will. This is what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 1, 25 to 29. Because the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. For you see your calling, brethren, that not many wise according to the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to put to shame the wise. And God has chosen the weak things of the world to put to shame the things which are mighty. And the base things of the world and the things which are despised, God has chosen. And the things which are not, to bring to nothing the things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. I just want to read that quote again. I read it at the beginning in closing. I discovered an astounding truth. God is attracted to weakness. He can't resist those who humbly and honestly admit how desperately they need him. Our weakness, in fact, makes room for his power. I just want to mention someone in your meeting to segue into the next part. The Parkinsons come to everyday publications faithfully every week, and they accomplish a great feat. They run our perfect binding machine. They produce sometimes between 14 and 1,600 books every week, which is a terrific help to EPI. And we thank the Lord for for their work with us. What I'd like to do now is I'd like to play a video. You may have seen this. This was made for the Easter conference, but it gives it tells you a little bit about EPI in the past and then what's happening in the future. And then I have a PowerPoint slide with a prayer request on it, and also shows the projects that we are working on. So let me see if I can try and share this video.
Greetings. We're happy to take a few minutes to acquaint you with the work of EPI, or Everyday Publications. To start, let's take a quick look backwards and then an exciting look ahead.
EPI, unlike most other publishing companies, produces books in simple language, easy to understand English, then those books are translated into other languages. Because it's simple English, they're very easy to translate as well. So EPI produces literature that is in simple English, that's easy to understand. Most of our books are sent overseas free of charge to missionaries and national workers. And that is the most exciting thing about Everyday Publications.
If there was a better way of feeding the sheep, Dr. Harlow wanted to find it.
We were in a board meeting one day, and Dr. Harlow came in, and you could tell he had an agenda. He then went into a discussion about what kind of disposable income the people that we were servicing would have. Well, of course, they didn't have enough money to buy our books in the middle of Africa or other places in the world. So it wasn't long through that discussion that Dr. Harlow said something like, the purpose of Everyday Publication has always been to feed the sheep. You can't feed the sheep when the feed is in the back room and they're in Africa. So it wasn't long before the board made the decision that there would be free books. Free books to missionaries around the world. It was an amazing decision over 20 years ago. And to this date, it's still going on, and we're still here, and we've sent out more books. Millions of books have gone out.
As the Lord has grown this ministry of feeding sheep over the years, He is now enabling our ministry to equip those sheep to help feed other sheep, to equip ministries that are equipping others to grow in the Lord. Let me give you a few of many examples of how this has developed in recent years. Lucas Richard from Liberia writes recently, "Please pray with us as we prepare to open the Bible School in 2021. Develop our curriculum using the Everyday Publication Bible Study courses in Everyday English, and determine who and how many believers, including from our local assembly in Tan and from the rural villages, will take on as students in 2021. From Kenya, Lazarus Kisau writes, 99% of the Everyday Publication courses are given to prisoners, and they have been a big tool in reaching the inmates. We have very much appreciated the generosity of Everyday Publications in supplying the courses and the booklets for Kenya for many years." From Zimbabwe, Chunga Jingini writes, "Everyday Publication books are written in simple English, so they are easy for most students to use. We also use EPI books to answer questions from Emmaus students, and EPI's small booklets covering various topics are very popular here."
We know for sure that we are going through hard situation. Wherever our brothers and sisters move from their localities and go somewhere else, they go with their Bibles. meaning that even if they run away from their place, they are strong with, in their faith.
We invite you to pray for us as we continue to help equip other ministries to equip others. God bless.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Thank you, Stephen. I sent you an email with the PowerPoint slide. If you could put that up, please. That shows some prayer requests and some projects that we are working on. So we'll first start with the shipments headed to. Those are the projects we are working on. You'll see at the top is Cuba. We have sent some small packages to Cuba, and they are trickling in, and we've gotten emails that they're getting received. And we're working on 2 very large orders for the Dominican Republic, and then also orders for Ecuador and Colombia. And actually, the Dominican Republic was sent. That's on a skid, and I think it might still be in Halifax Harbor. So you can pray that will be on its way to the Dominican Republic. And then the 2 orders are in Colombia. That's the ones that we're working on right now. And we just sent 5 skids of books to Kenya. They're in transit. And then the one for Nigeria, we are still waiting for shipping instructions for that. There's a gentleman who's shipping it, and we've been hanging on to this order now for over 1.5 years. So we can pray that we'll get those instructions soon. There's several skids. I think 5 skids on their way to Zimbabwe, and then there's 4 skids on their way to Liberia. So we can pray that for these books in transit. And if you look down at the bottom, this is a project that Brian Cretney is heading up. They're making videos to go with some of the books that we have done, called a rescue mission. It's done by school ministries, and they use them in the States mostly for curriculum for after school. If you go over to the left in the Northeast Congo, this is a real hot spot right now. The Congo has had one problem after another, and right now, in the area that we send most of our books to, they're having a lot of trouble. So please pray for peace. Rebels have burned villages and murdered residents. This is ongoing. We just got several emails today. You may have too from the region of Chabi and Bunia, where these things are happening. Thousands displaced, but people are being saved and baptized, and churches are growing. You saw that picture of the long line of people and the pickup trucks and the motorcycles. That happened just in the last few weeks. So translation work on Believer's Bible Commentary into Congo Swahili is going on even amidst of this trouble. They've done James and Peter, and we're looking for an opportunity to get these files. They've done them, but they need to upload the files to us so that we can typeset them. And then pray for containers of literature headed to Congo this year. The print shop is, the whole shop is plugged up right now with books, the print shop and the warehouse. So orders are need to go out, and then when they go out, then we can have room to put the books for the Congo container, to organize them and then move them into the container once the Nigeria order goes. So we're really busy right now. So this Congo container project is going to be 105,000 books. And some of those books will be printed outside. There's a commentary, that doesn't include the commentaries. There's one of these books is a Schofield Notes, and they want 5,000. That's quite a thick book. And so we'll be getting that one printed somewhere else. So they want Bibles and hymn books as well. That's not included in the 105,000. So these are things you can pray for. I don't know if you want to leave this on the screen while we pray or what you can do, but those are some of the things that are going on at EPI right now.